This is an acoustic chronograph app for an Android phone that allows you to measure the speed of your arrow using sound. And the first screen that you'll see is this help screen or information, and you can scroll down to read in more detail how to use the application, and also just some additional information about selecting wind speed and things like that. The next tab, if you click on it or press it, it will be the wind tab, and it allows you to enter the wind speed. You can enter the wind speed simply by clicking on the buttons to get 10, 15, or you can click over here and drag up and down, and that will give you the speed. To get the direction of the wind, you need to click and on this side of the screen and move the windsock in the direction. This would be shooting into a headwind, and this would be shooting into a tailwind. This would be crosswind. And for the temperature, you can just enter a temperature this way by clicking on the buttons, or you can drag the mercury up and down. And you don't really have to be that exact on the wind speed and the temperature. 10 degrees is good enough. You know, it probably, if you're within 10 degrees, you may only have a 1 or 2 foot per second difference in your speed. And then next tab is the distance, and you can click the shooting distance from your bow to the target. Just click these buttons, or you can click and drag the distance here on the little football field. And then the shoot tab allows you can change to US or metric units if you like. You can set the delay. I'll set it for 4 seconds, and the delay is the time it will take you to, when you press start, you will need to put the phone in your pocket, like in your shirt pocket, knock your arrow, draw, aim, and you need to and then when you hear the signal, then you can shoot. So sometimes you might need as many as 15 or 20 seconds to do that, depending on your bow setup and things like that. Of course, if you have someone standing by you to help you, then you can just do it in 1 or 2 seconds. So I set it for 4 just as an example. And the duration for longer shots, you may need to have 4 seconds. This is the time it takes for you to shoot, for the arrow to travel to the target, and then for the sound of the arrow hitting the target to travel back to the phone. And so for 80, 90, 100-yard shots, you might want to use 4 seconds, depending on the speed of your bow. Most of the time, you just use 2 seconds is fine. Because remember, after you hear the signal to shoot your bow, it might take you half a second or a second to release the arrow. So that's also counted in there. And then this is the maximum velocity of your bow. You can just leave this at 350, but if you have a bow that's pretty noisy and the sound damps out fairly slowly, you may want to set this to a more accurate value, just to make sure it doesn't assume that the sound of your bow is the arrow hitting the target. So that, and sometimes you may want to move out to 30 yards or something to test the speed of your arrow, just to make sure that your bow is quieted down by the time the arrow hits the target. And then whenever you're ready, you can just hit start, and it'll count down. Okay, I just made a sound of a bow artificially, but anyway, it will show a mark where the bow shot, and then a mark where the arrow hit. and then it will show the feet per second right here, or it'll show it in text right here, rounded to the nearest foot per second. And you can hit replay to hear the shot. And if you made a mistake, like you shot at, you actually shot at 20 yards instead of 30, you can say, oh, you can correct it here, and then you can go back and hit recalc, and it'll tell you what your bow is shooting. Or if the wind changed direction or something while you shot, you can come back here and go back to recalc, and it'll change. And anyway, that's concludes the tutorial for the acoustic chronograph.